Welcome back. There are indications that the federal government has started incurring about 586 million naira daily as fuel subsidy following the rise in crude oil price from $49 to $58 per barrel in the international market. Well, I'm now being joined by one of the research analysts at financial derivatives company, Bolanle Olutosin, to bring us up to speed with the latest development on the commodities market scene. Good morning, Bolanle. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, as indicated as one of your burning economic issues, it seems the fuel subsidy regime seems to be coming back. So what's driving this now?
Before looking there, it's an important development, but we would go through the burning issues and pick on something that is even more important than that. So running through the burning issues this week, we have the fuel subsidy. Is the fuel subsidy back? That's a question to ask. Oil price, Brent price is up again to about 57.5. Diesel price is up as well to about by about 2.5% to about 205 naira per litre. President Trump has 5 contestants for he needs to employ
for the Fed
chairperson, and all in all, on-grid power is up as well, and all that. And then the 2018 budget is being passed to the FEC. Is being presented to the FEC Federal Executive Council. And looking at what is more important in this burning issues they've just listed out, President Trump's decision to pick a new chairperson is extremely important. Why? Because we become vulnerable to decisions, made in the U.S. because they're the leading economy. And in these bunch of contestants, we actually have 3 doves and 2 hawks. And when you look at this initiative, what happens is if he does pick someone that is more hawkish than dovish, it means that it's more likely that from next year onwards we start to see rate hikes, even from the next meeting coming up soon. And when that happens, what we see is that it affects the price of oil. Price of oil is inversely related to interest rates in the U.S. Once we see a rise in interest, because the interest rate is about 1.25% at the moment. So if there's a hike in interest rates, then we see less demand for oil, and the price of oil declines. And also investment flows. We've been in this era where we actually want to see more investment flows within the country. Yeah. If the U.S. should increase their rates, it means that we now have to be in a competitive space. Would that mean that the MPC would keep increasing our own rates or keep our rates, the same? And when that happens, more money actually flows into the U.S. because they're more attractive. So where is our competitive edge? Also, world growth. World growth is actually important for us as well. If, the U.S. is maintaining this hawkishness, what happens to world growth, and how does that affect us within the global economy? So these are the important, factors that we see driving, this particular burning issue. And it calls to question, how do we move forward from there? The uncertainties of the global economy is actually very important for how we plan, our 2018 budget and all that. So, okay.
Yeah, with these uncertainties that you have just mentioned, global oil price is one of them, and that seemed to be part of what we're seeing now with this fuel subsidy issue. Yeah,
so first of all, the fuel subsidy issue had only been carried by one newspaper, so we're still on edge of what exactly is, the government hasn't come out to say anything about it, but yet it's still something to be discussed upon. With the fuel subsidy, it's not surprising because now we've seen that oil prices have actually increased dramatically from the lows of about $45 per barrel in June to about 57.5 that we're seeing now. And that obviously, feeds into the cost of importing refined, products. And not just that, in the pricing templates, we have the price of oil, we have exchange rates. Exchange rates has been stable, but compared to 2 years ago, it's increased, or it's depreciated margin. It's depreciated in a lot. And also, looking at the cost of logistics as well, that has also been factored into, the pricing template. So, most, refined products that are imported would obviously be, felt within this pricing template.
Right. With that, I think that's from one of the newspapers, the news item. So one would wonder how verifiable that is, because the government maintains that, it's not been spending money on fuel subsidy yet. There's fuel.
Yeah, so like I said, we don't know. We're yet to confirm, the fact that these news is actually concrete. But I think what's more important is if it is the case, what is the implication on consumers, the government, and the general economy as
so tell me, what would that mean for government revenue and of course the 2018 budget?
Yeah, so if they're saying they're spending about 586 daily on subsidy, allegedly, that would mean that it's about 25% of the proposed 8.6 trillion naira budget, which is significant, because why would it calls to question our oil dependency? We're moving away from a particular scenario where we're less dependent on oil. So why subsidize it so much? And it's also, we've had enough time to deal with our issues of refining our own products in-house. We're one of the largest producers in Africa, so why don't we refine enough, products, enough crude to actually meet domestic demand within the country? So, the government needs to, focus on such issues, and even a way of diversifying the country, which is, seen in the economic recovery and growth plan. So those are the key issues that we're actually looking at. And coming down to the individuals within the economy, the price of fuel, it feeds into the cost of logistics, business owners, commodity prices. How would that affect the prices that manufacturers actually charge for some of these commodities? We've seen diesel price hiking up to about 205 naira per liter, yes. And it calls to question. Obviously, diesel price, we're suspecting that it's actually increasing because a lot of these, marketers are not sure of the demand for diesel. So you have more or less them, not importing as much diesel as they actually ought to. So a lot of them are switching to, rather import, fuel products than import, diesel.
Now, one would wonder why diesel prices should be going up now that we have electricity improving.
Yeah, so it's a dilemma that we're still trying to, quite understand. It could possibly be the uncertainty of power. We have situations where, on-grid power actually increases, and then in the next week we see that something has happened, something has happened to the infrastructure, or there's not enough, or there are a lot of gas constraints in the system. So that instability is probably felt within the diesel price. So, like I mentioned, the diesel demand is not, a lot of marketers are not so sure of what the diesel demand is.